What is the key to making great Korean movies, and can we unlock the secret? I'm here with an Asian film expert, Samuel Jamier.
Thanks for having me, Andrew. I'm very excited to be here.
Sam, you are the director or the president of the New York Asian Film Festival. You're also a filmmaker yourself, and you're also adopted Korean, but to France and not America. So that, I mean, you have an interesting background.
Some people think it's interesting. Yeah, I'm basically... I was born in Korea. I grew up in France. I lived in Japan. I lived in Korea. I lived in the UK.
Yeah.
And I've been in film for a while, and I've been running the festival for about half of its existence now, about 13 years.
And you speak some Japanese and Korean, correct?
Yeah, I speak Japanese. I speak bad Korean, but enough to get into fights, I guess.
All right. Well, speaking of fights, I want to talk about the key to making good Korean movies, because this theory was brought to me by another film friend of mine, and I want to talk about it with you. And it helps if you, obviously, of our Korean background, possibly you can deny or confirm some of these things. But I think the thesis and the key to making great Korean films, and why the Korean film industry is so incredibly developed. It's so great right now. They're killing it, from the dramas to the thrillers to the zombie movies. There's a key element in all this, and it's K-Rage.
Is your friend Korean?
He's in film. But this is something that, and we're going to talk about K-Rage in this video, about where it might come from. But obviously it's a concept that a lot of people are familiar with, but maybe they haven't delved as deep into. But that I think a lot of the anger and pain, it comes out in the emotions, and that's a lot of the driving force for a lot of the great stories coming out of Korea. Whether it be Snowpiercer, Old Boy, Parasite, even the Beef series in America, Netflix's Beef, a lot of heavy anger. And I think that's what sets Koreans apart from some of the other Asian films, namely, I can just say Chinese films, I think is like this anger emotion, I guess. That's my initial theory. What do you think?
I think there's a good insight in there. It's a bit of an outside perspective. I think maybe you would make some Koreans angry by saying that. Actually,
I might entice some K-Rage with this.
Well, I mean, more seriously speaking, from a business perspective, the Korean film industry is quite developed. It's a very established system. It has a star system. It's not recent. So it's not like it happened overnight. It seems to have happened overnight, but it took place over the course of many years. So there's the business aspect of it. It's very well structured. And there's still a few developing industries in Asia, like Vietnam and so on. And this is a very established system. So there's that. But what you're talking about is the emotional intensity. That's a result of the storytelling. And I mean, it's true. There's a lot of emotional intensity, K-rage, if you want.
Right? Maybe it's not exactly K-rage, but there's again, emotional intensity, I think, is maybe a more proper way to put it. I'm making a generalization and trying to get views on this video, but we can talk about I think even comparing it to, I guess, Japanese, because I think that most comparable Korea is to Japan as far as in pop culture media, right? There's a lot of mirrors. It's heavily inspired by, but also the histories are heavily interlinked, especially recent histories. So I guess in my opinion, everyday Japanese life right now is depicted, or the narrative is that Japanese life, especially in Japan, is very serene now. That maybe at a time during World War II, obviously the army was going crazy and doing all these crazy things, but Japan itself, and maybe, the joke is that, I don't know if it's a joke, but that after the bombing, they all kind of tightened up and became Hello Kitty and stuff like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's the joke. I'm saying that's the joke. I'm not... There's, probably some link, but whether or not, that's the real reason. But I guess what I mean is that Southeast Asians, like Thai people, Vietnam, Indonesia, I think Southeast Asians generally have a lot of emotional intensity as well, but their movie industries aren't as developed, and they haven't been able to make as many movies that have spread to the rest of the world. Korea is that powerhouse.
Okay, so I think the reason why Korean narratives are so popular, whether it's film or drama, is the accessibility. It's very easy to understand the emotions put on display. You see this guy is happy, he's angry. It doesn't always have to be about anger, but anger is probably the most intense emotion. So you can instantly understand what's going on.
Do you think anger is an easier emotion to relate to for, like, let's say a non-Asian, someone who's not used to watching a lot of Asian faces, but that seeing an angry Asian go through things is even more relatable possibly than them going through love? Is there an argument there? This is my argument, that I think more non-Asians or non-Koreans relate to Koreans being angry than they would even Koreans being in love.
Yeah, because I think we live in an age of great anger, political anger, cultural anger. That's a word we use all the time, fear and anger. So that makes Korean stories particularly relatable. I think anger is a mode, but overall there's a degree of intensity, and you have these outbursts. But there's a lot of frustration in the air, and Koreans live. Korean society is extraordinarily frustrating. It's a very tough society to live in.
My other part to this is that, because I do factor in how I think non-Asians in general had perceived Asians for the past 20, 15 years.
Oh, like calm,
so like they kind of viewed them, they didn't know that Asians had such emotions. And then Koreans are like, hey, we get angry and we got rage. And like, here's our stories. And that anger is, well, all right, so let me preface this, because a lot of the first Asian movies that people watch were kung fu movies. So they're used to Asians fighting or defying things or beating people up. They're used to that in movie sense. And then there is some dramas that kind of got somewhat popular, but mostly within maybe like a certain sect of the female drama crowd, you know. But really, when Korean movies blow up, I think, in my opinion, is when it's pain, anger, K-rage, the Han Korean blood, the kimchi blood, you know, all that coming out. I guess that's my theory.
I think you're right. I mean, again, it's the aesthetics of it. It's shocking. It goes beyond. It's universal. There's a language to it.
Maybe it helps us open our eyes on screen, like the I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that, but I mean, it's an interesting society. It's quite fractured. It's quite broken. There's a lot that people have internalized, and so of course it comes out in the films and the TV dramas.
How would you describe K-rage or Han blood and where it comes from? Do you believe in this genetic or this deep cultural thing? You know how some things, like over generations, they can kind of stick within your blood. We've heard that trauma can be passed down through the bloodline to a certain extent. Do you believe in Han blood, or where does it stand in Korean society now, having been to South Korea somewhat recently?
Okay, well, I'm kind of a product of that, you know. Like there's, I think it's partially true. There's some truth to that. Otherwise, why would people talk about it? And Korean Americans definitely talk about that a lot. The concept of Han, you know, you have this grudge, this chip on your shoulder, and somehow it ends up defining you. But you can also kind of transcend it by embracing it. I think historically, it's kind of true. I mean, there's the Korean War, the separation. It's naturally. I mean, it's just a fact. Korea is broken into two states, right? I mean, it's not the case of many nations. So that creates, as you say, intergenerational drama. It's passed from one generation to another. Yeah, I mean, mostly I agree.
Is it prevalent in Korea, or do you find that the conversation about Han, this Korean K-rage, being more of a Korean American thing, or in Korea they talk about it too?
It's a Korean American thing. Like you go, like very often people tell me, "Well, tell us about the Han." And Han, what is Han? What is Jong? And I'm like, look, it's kind of bullshit. Okay, it's historically defined what Korea was in a sense, or it is a good way for Korean Americans to anchor their identity. You find this word, you're like, this is what we are. You know, we don't. We don't have kung fu. We don't have, I don't know, anime and stuff, but we have this incredible anger. Like that's the Minjin's novel. Pachinko starts with that. Like history did us wrong, something like that. So it starts with this sense that you've been wrong, you've been colonized, you've had your country's been occupied, your women have been trafficked. This is pretty massively traumatic, right? So it gets passed down. After that, saying that's all that defines a person, a nation. I mean, come on, and there's plenty of there's happy people too. Happiness exists. It's not just, but then again, I suppose from a Korean perspective, you could also argue happiness is just a moment. But no, I don't like the idea that it's entirely defined by trauma, but it's certainly a huge part of it. You live in a state of war. I mean, you have the country is split into two. It's a very artificial border. It's literally a straight line.
And not only is it split into two, it's like the two are almost at war, or like there's basically missiles that are ready to.
Yeah, but no one thinks about that.
Right.
There. Like again, that's also a cliche. Whenever you hear, I think it pisses off, and rightfully so. It pisses off a lot of people when you say, "Oh, you're from the north or from the south." Look, you're not gonna meet a North Korean person like probably ever. Like the average individual is very likely to ever meet a North Korean person.
So, do you think the high alcohol consumption may play into it?
The anger.
I mean, soju being
Of
such
course.
a cheap and easy to drink alcohol, and obviously alcohol, we all know, fuels rage. I mean, in every culture. I guess, it's a reasonable factor.
Yeah, Koreans drink gasoline, and it's a lot of.
Drink the gas.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's true. Of course. I mean, it's especially at this level, but I mean, it's declining. Okay, let's be a little
for sure
positive there, but I think the fundamental sort of engine or source or origin of the K-rage, let's just call it that, is the economic inequalities. I mean, it's a profoundly unfair society. You have this massive gap between rich and poor. People are pissed off. You can be a very established filmmaker, and you heard the guy, director Hwang, who made Squid Game. He didn't make a lot of money from running the first season. It's shocking. Netflix made billions of dollars of it, and what did he make? Not a whole lot. He made less than most American filmmakers would make on a show of that magnitude. So that's a bit different. But overall, that's the story of many Koreans. You have to struggle, and that's still there. And even though the Korean film industry is now internationally known, Korean dramas, K-pop, the music, the models, the fashion, everything. Koreans are hot on
Koreans are hot. They killing it.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I've said it. It is very factually true.
Okay. It is. Okay. I'm ethnically Korean, so I have a little part of it.
You get to take some. Should take some credit.
I think I should. Yeah. I mean, I did an early career retrospective of Bong Joon-ho back in 2007. So
Hey man.
Yeah, so we're a bit early in the game. Lee Jong-jae, the star Squid Game.
I guess.
Brought him to New York in 2015. So, yeah,
that's good.
A full 10 years.
I want to bring up this story though. Of Lee Byung-hun.
Oh yeah.
How should I say the name?
Perfect.
Lee Byung-hun. And he obviously, we know him. He's been in Squid Games recently, but before that he was in Terminator, and before that he was obviously in a bunch of Korean films. Very decorated Korean actor, very good looking, right? Very handsome and a beautiful man.
Yeah.
But when he was in America, there's these famous stories where he felt like he was getting disrespected by other actors in not American actors in Hollywood, where they wouldn't really even shake his hand and look him in the face. And he did say, rather than feel sad, I felt really enraged by it. And I was like, hey, man, you use the word rage. But also, to his credit, I mean, he did get mistaken for Ken Jeong from The Hangover.
Yeah, I would get upset too.
Which, for
No
Lee
offense.
Byung-hun to be mistaken for Ken Jeong, which, you can feel however you want about Ken Jeong, they look like, it's oddly enough because the hairstyles are similar, but they're very different people. Right. So I think for him to get mistaken, that was his way of being like, yo, and I could see how that would enrage him because he's getting mistaken for somebody who is obviously almost as polar opposite as it could be. But I guess like, is it?
But
like,
it's not a Korean problem. It's an American problem. It's American
Right.
provincialism. It's not really. His reaction is normal. Most Koreans would be like that.
That's true.
Yeah.
I do think
would be like that
Koreans,
too.
I will say, I think on average have more rage than like the average Chinese person.
I'm
willing to say that.
Well, it's a matter of expression. Like everything in Korean aesthetics, not everything, but a lot, for film in particular, it's so focused on expressing. So it's entirely expressionist. It's like you're angry, it shows on your face. There's no like, even the restraint. Like if the guy looks like, I'm trying to hold it in. So everything is pretty clear. It's a little bit like watching an anime. If you watch animation, one of the reasons why animation is so popular, you understand right away what's happening. You have this instant sympathy with it. You just go with it when a story is well written. In comparison, you watch some of the Chinese films. I'm making a huge generalization here because, China, there's what does that mean also, Chinese cinema, right? Or Japan, you're kind of sometimes.
I guess we could say like the typical Chinese film, maybe like a drama, or you mean maybe like you're talking about like the wuxia pian, like the take place in the dynastic time, that's where they're wearing the long wigs.
Yeah. So first of all, there's the cultural context. People are like, oh God, what's the beggar sect? What is the Wu-Tang Mian, the door, whatever? Like they're confused. So there's a lot of cultural context that also comes in the way. The emotions are expressed differently. People are sad, but they smile, so you're a little bit. So there's a lot of mixed signals. Not to say that it doesn't exist in Korean cinema or drama, but overall, everything that you do in the filmmaking is meant to serve one purpose, to express an emotion directly, clearly, and to just throw it in your face. That's why it gives this impression of rage or overall. That's really the reason. I don't think Koreans are really necessarily angry. It's just a matter of expressing it. Like also in Japan, for example, you have this concept like gaman. Gaman means like you endure something. So for a long time, you had this emphasis on being able to just, like endure it and not expressing your pain. That's you have like classic scenes in Yakuza films, gangster films, where a guy, to show his toughness, is gonna break a bottle and like eat the glass or something like that, or cut himself and not react at all. So it's the exact opposite of expression. You have to understand his pain through its opposite, not expressing stuff. That's not really a Korean thing. Like people, when they're really, really sad, they're not like this. They cry their fucking eyes out. Like they're bawling and crying. They collapse on the floor. They pull their hair out. It's very, even in real life, it's a bit like that. Like you see people when they're happy, they're jumping in their chair.
Well, it's funny, I would say Koreans also, between aegyo, kawaii from Japan, but aegyo is very popular now with Koreans, and it's very blew up. So it's very cute. Like my sassy girl is very cute, and then you go crazy. I guess I have a question, and I agree with what you're saying. I mean, when we say K-Rage, it's not unique to Koreans, but I do think that now that those movies and stories have proven to be successful, and that is kind of like popular culture or the popular identity now, do you think it is perpetuating in people's lives? Like people now, maybe some Koreans, whether Korean Americans or in Korea, they identify with the K-Rage and the Han, and they kind of, maybe it's not fake, but they do, they kind of let it, let it be, let it flow, let it out. Yeah, lay it out. And because they identify with that image, and they're like, hey, this is what makes Koreans different, or this is what we see in the movies. So now I am more this. You know how like movies can change your imagery and perpetuate ideas about yourself as well. So I guess.
So your question is, do I think? Sorry,
that is starting to affect Korean society and individuals in them identifying with the anger and the K-Rage?
Well, I mean, the films are the result of the society. I mean, of course, it's a bit of a chicken and egg thing. At some point, you see something and you react to it.
Is it becoming a circle now, though? That,
I think it's been
it was circle. Anger, so you create the films, and then the films, for the young kids, they watch the films and they're like, hey, Koreans are angry. I'm
kind of a
Korean.
question. No, it's a kind of a question mark in my head, but mostly I want to say not really. I mean, the films are really an expression of society. They really reflect who they are. Like rather than the other way around. People get shaped, of course, by the pop culture, the fashion. You see someone, but also that person. Yeah, it is kind of a cycle overall. When it comes to the anger, I mean, these are real life problems. People are poor. There's despite the K-pop stars, so poor. You have these dudes with six packs, and it all looks very successful. But it's a society that's struggling profoundly.
And you're saying,
like people,
and you're saying
they live
still
above
struggling.
their means. Oh yeah, people live above their means. It's all about the appearance, the face, the concept of face. But no one has the concept of face, I believe, as much as Koreans do. It's all about like you have to walk around with your Louis Vuitton accessories, with an Hermes bag if you can. If you can, even if you can't, you have to really try. It's very, very competitive. So I think these are real problems that exist. People are not going to get more upset because of watching a film. In fact, right now, Koreans domestically, they're turning more towards comedies, like feel-good stuff, escapism. It's actually the opposite trend right now. And it's this.
Well, maybe because there's too many struggles in the everyday life. You want that comedy. You want to laugh, kind of laugh it off. Right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's also, you have the political turmoil. Life is not getting better. It's a lot of shit going on. Like people are not happy fundamentally. So it's hence the K-rage thing you're describing. But also simultaneously, you have fun comedies. You have like, silly stuff that anyone could appreciate. But where Koreans are really good is they make it accessible. Usually, I can put someone from Ethiopia, from the Middle East, and they're gonna be like, they get it. They're not gonna be like, oh, so who's Captain Marvel vis-a-vis Thanos? You get it. They're like, oh, my stepmom, she's a bitch. I hate my stepmom. That kind of stuff. Anyone can understand that. I think that explains the global success of Korean films and dramas.
That's a good conversation, man. No, I love that conversation. And obviously, I like to throw out these generalizations for for fun, but to get the conversation going. But yeah, I mean, I see a lot of what you're saying. And I think I'd like to invite anybody in the comment section who's, let me know what you think about this. Is the delivery of the emotional intensity from Koreans one of the things that stands out on film? I guess that's my theory. I think it is compared to some other Asians, but also their filmmaking is great and their accessibility is great and their language is fun to speak and fun to learn. Yeah. So I think the faces are good looking. Everybody's, we get it. 6-pack, hot bodies, anger. If you got the 6-pack and the beautiful body and then you're angry, I don't know, maybe that's some good building blocks for it.
Yeah, but it's interesting you're saying that, and we were chatting earlier about the pain, like the beauty and all that. We all know about the plastic surgery phenomenon. Working out 6 hours a day, it's not easy. So there's this striving, the sense that effort. You need to see the effort.
So you
have to go for this.
So you're saying that these actors could potentially get more stressed out and more angry while they're training to play these angry characters.
That's possible. I don't know.
All right, everybody. That is Samuel Jamier.
Correct.
Check out the links down below for the New York Asian Film Festival. You are working on a film as well right now.
Correct.
So, yeah, I mean, check out his personal links down below. And thanks for being here. And that was a great talk about Korean Asian film. All right, everybody. Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button. And until next time, I'm out. Peace.